A Georgia mother has been arrested months after her 7-year-old son was found deceased in her vehicle with his head stuck in the window. This right here is 32-year-old Kandice Grace from Milledgeville, Georgia, and it was reported that on the night of April 5th, 2025, Kandice had returned home from wherever she was at with her 3 children and passed out in the front seat of her vehicle, leaving her 3 children in the back seat to fend for themselves. Now, this is 7-year-old Maisie Simmons, and he is the child who ultimately passed away after he tried to get out of the car and got his head stuck in the window. The next morning on April 6, 2025, a neighbor actually noticed that Kandice was passed out in the driver's seat of her vehicle and Maisie's head was actually hanging outside of the back window. Maisie was unresponsive and ultimately pronounced deceased. The other 2 children were said to have been unharmed. Authorities reported that during Kandice's interview on scene, she was holding her son Maisie, however, she kept passing out. Authorities realized that something was not right with her, so they decided to obtain a warrant to test her. A few months later, on August 8, 2025, the GBI, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, notified the Atlanta Police Department that Grace's toxicology results were positive for having and in her system. Investigators alleged that Grace was driving under the influence of DRUGS's on April 5th, 2025 with her 3 children in the back seat, and upon returning home, instead of being able to get out of the car and bring the children inside the home to safety, she ended up passing out in the vehicle for the entire night. On September 29th, 2025, Kandice Grace was arrested and taken into custody. Her warrant states that her lack of supervision allowed her son to remain trapped in the window, which ultimately led to his death. The Fulton County Medical Examiner ruled Maisie Simmons' death as accidental by strangulation. However, his mother, Kandice Grace, is going to be held accountable for his death, as she is now being charged with second-degree MURDER and second-degree cruelty to children. I will say it's nice to see authorities making examples out of these parents who neglect their children, which ultimately result in their children passing away. They should not be getting a tap on the wrist. They need to be held accountable, and more people need to realize that if you fail your children, you are going to get locked up.